Emma Green was not your average high school junior. While most of her friends spent their time debating the best new series or the latest pop hits, Emma found herself captivated by political news and social issues. She loved discussing policy ideas, attending local community meetings, and even volunteering with her mom, Eileen, in small campaigns around town. As the American election neared, their conversations had taken on a new intensity, with Eileen actively volunteering as a campaign assistant for a candidate in their area. Emma admired her mom's passion, and, in her own way, she wanted to help make a difference, too. One afternoon, just days before election night, Emma came home from school to find the house quiet. Eileen usually worked from home during campaign season, so Emma found it odd that her mom wasn't at her desk or in the kitchen, where she often prepared quick snacks between calls and meetings. Emma called out, "Mom?" but there was no reply. A little unsettled, she checked her mom's calendar on the wall, where Eileen's entire schedule was mapped out meticulously. Strangely, today's space was empty. That wasn't like her mom at all. Emma tried calling her mom's phone, but it went straight to voicemail. After the third attempt, her stomach knotted with worry. Had something happened to her? Or had she just gone to run an errand? Eileen was usually great at staying in touch, especially with Emma. Emma sat down at her mom's desk, trying to think of what to do next. She spotted her mom's laptop, which was still open, and noticed her email and social media accounts were already logged in. That seemed unusual. Her mom was careful about security. Mom never leaves her accounts open, Emma murmured to herself, clicking through her mom's emails. As she skimmed through the recent messages, one email thread immediately stood out. The sender's name was hidden, replaced only by a random sequence of letters and numbers, and the subject line read, "Urgent, keep this private." The message was cryptic and slightly unsettling. "Eileen, we need to discuss the changes immediately. Data must remain under wraps. You'll find further instructions soon." The email's wording was vague, but had an odd sense of urgency to it, unlike any campaign-related messages she had seen before. She noticed her mom had replied with only a short message. "Understood. We'll prepare accordingly." Emma's mind raced. This didn't sound like her mom's typical emails, which were usually full of polite, enthusiastic phrases. Something felt off. Emma continued her search, clicking through Eileen's social media. There, she found another unusual message. A private direct message from someone with the username Watcher 2024. It read, "Be careful who you trust. We're all watching." Goosebumps prickled along her arms. Who was Watcher 2024? And why would they be messaging her mom? Trying to push down her anxiety, Emma opened her mom's messages one by one, hoping for clues. Many of them were routine volunteer reminders, schedules, last-minute planning sessions. But one conversation thread was different. It was between Eileen and a close campaign friend named Scott. The messages mentioned something about a key meeting the day before. Emma decided to message Scott herself. "Hi, Scott. This is Emma. I'm trying to find my mom. Do you know where she might be?" She hit send and waited, her heart pounding. In the meantime, she noticed that Eileen's last known location was still saved in her phone's GPS history. Emma tapped into it, hoping it would help. The location was an unusual one, a warehouse on the outskirts of the city. Emma stared at the address, wondering why her mom would go there, and why wouldn't she tell anyone? Scott's reply finally came, short and uncertain. "Emma, I thought she was working from home today. She mentioned she'd be doing some research, but I didn't think she'd leave. Something was definitely wrong, and the eerie feeling only grew. With her mom's last known location in hand, and more questions than answers, Emma knew she had to dig deeper. She opened her mom's contacts list, scrolling past familiar names, until she found one listed only as X. Emma frowned. The number was untraceable, showing no ID, no name, just the initial. Determined, Emma quickly noted down everything she'd found so far, trying to organize the threads in her mind. Her mom's disappearance wasn't just a random absence. Something bigger was happening, and the urgency of her emails and messages confirmed it. Emma felt a chill as she realized she might be the only one who could uncover what had happened to her mom and why. Emma sat at her mom's desk, late into the night, her only light the soft blue glow of the laptop screen. She scrolled through Eileen's email inbox again, but this time she focused on any messages with odd subject lines. Her eyes paused on a series of encrypted emails with titles like Protocol Update, Urgent Access Request, and most concerning, Confidential Voting Agreement. The messages didn't make much sense at first. The sentences were broken, full of code words, and there were strange links embedded within them. Emma's heart raced as she clicked on the first link. It led to a hidden website that required a password. She tried her mom's usual codes, and after a few attempts, one of them finally worked. The screen filled with a jumble of seemingly random letters and numbers. She almost gave up, but something caught her eye. Within the code were words that stood out like pieces of a puzzle scattered here and there: voter database, algorithm, and real-time adjustment. The words painted a disturbing picture in Emma's mind. Was someone trying to control the voting results? It seemed impossible, but the pieces of this digital puzzle were starting to fall into place. Her mom had clearly been involved in something big, something secret. She remembered the strange email about keeping data under wraps. The realization hit her hard. Her mom had been close to uncovering something huge, and maybe that was why she disappeared. Emma took a deep breath, her hands slightly shaky, and decided to check her mom's social media once more. She scrolled through Eileen's private messages and found a recent one from an account with the name Shadow 2024. The message read, "Make sure all files are secured. We can't let anyone outside the inner circle see the real data." Emma's stomach dropped. Shadow 2024 sounded like someone operating in secret, and this inner circle was possibly the heart of the operation. She clicked on the profile, hoping to find some clues. But the profile picture was just a black silhouette, and the account had only a handful of connections, none of them familiar. But one name did catch her eye: a politician's campaign advisor named Logan Pierce. He was high up in the campaign hierarchy for one of the top candidates in the election, someone her mom had been cautious about recently. Emma's fingers hovered over the keyboard as she looked up Logan Pierce online. There were news articles featuring him as a powerful but shadowy figure in the political scene, someone who specialized in data-driven campaigns. She dug deeper, reading forum threads where people speculated about his involvement in questionable tactics to influence voting patterns. Emma couldn't believe what she was finding. Her mom's disappearance might be tied to a secret operation meant to tamper with the election results. She felt both frightened and determined. This wasn't just some local rumor. It was a web of deceit that could impact millions of votes and sway the entire election outcome. As she delved further, her mom's contact list revealed even more unusual connections. A few names popped up repeatedly in emails and messages, including a data scientist, a cybersecurity expert, and someone simply known as the consultant. They were all friends of friends, buried in Eileen's network, like whispers in the dark corners of the internet. Feeling the weight of the mystery on her shoulders, Emma took screenshots of the messages and saved copies of the emails. She knew she had to move fast before anything suspicious happened to her mom's accounts. Just then, her phone vibrated with a message from Scott, her mom's campaign friend. "Emma, are you okay? We need to talk, but not here. Things are complicated. Be careful who you trust." Emma's heart raced. Scott's message confirmed her fears. Her mom's disappearance was tied to something much bigger. She replied quickly, asking where they could meet. Emma barely slept that night. Her mind raced with questions about her mom and the dangerous secrets she seemed to have uncovered. Determined, she decided to track down Eileen's last known location through her phone's GPS history. The app showed her mom's phone was last active near the downtown campaign office 3 days ago. With a deep breath, Emma began retracing her mother's digital steps. As she scrolled through her mom's social media and location data, Emma noticed something disturbing. Several strange accounts had begun following her on her own social profiles. The usernames were odd. User 2024_A, Watcher Now, Hidden Observer, nothing personal, just names that felt unsettling. She brushed it off at first, thinking they might be bots. But then the messages started. The first one appeared in her inbox around midnight, from user 2024_A. "Emma, you're looking into things you shouldn't." Chills ran down her spine. How did they know what she was doing? She quickly deleted the message, trying to convince herself it was just a prank. But minutes later, another message arrived, this time from Watcher Now. "Stay out of it. This is bigger than you think." Emma's hands shook as she read the words. It wasn't just random strangers. These accounts seemed to know exactly what she was searching for and were actively trying to scare her off. She blocked the accounts, but more messages kept coming, each one more intimidating than the last. Despite the warnings, Emma pressed on. She found that her mom's last messages had included a few more locations around the city, a quiet cafe, a library, and, curiously, an old parking lot on the edge of town. She mapped out each location, hoping to find a pattern that would lead her closer to the truth. But then her phone rang. It was her dad. "Emma," he said, his voice tense, "I need you to stop whatever it is you're doing." She hesitated. "Dad, I can't. Mom's missing. Something's wrong." "I know you're worried, but it's dangerous to go snooping around. This isn't like one of your mysteries from school. There are powerful people involved here. Promise me you'll let this go." Emma knew her dad was trying to protect her, but she couldn't shake the feeling that he was holding something back. She kept her voice steady. "I'll be careful, Dad, but I can't just sit and do nothing." After they hung up, Emma felt even more certain she was on the right path. She returned to her mom's email and dug deeper, this time looking up the profiles of the contacts who had messaged her mom about the voting agreement and secure data. One by one, she started to see a disturbing connection. Many of them had ties to a powerful political donor named Charles Hawthorne, a billionaire known for funding high-profile campaigns. Hawthorne had deep pockets and a reputation for strategic influence, the kind that pushed ethical boundaries. The deeper Emma went, the more convinced she became that her mom's disappearance was tied to his campaign. But her investigation didn't go unnoticed. Soon, new messages popped up in her inbox. "Back off, Emma. You've been warned. Think about your family." Each one felt more personal, as if the people behind the screen knew her every move. Determined not to let the fear consume her, Emma continued piecing things together. Hawthorne's name came up again and again, linked with shady campaign tactics and secret meetings. With each clue, Emma grew more certain that her mom had stumbled upon something explosive, something that would damage more than just one campaign if it got out. By dawn, Emma knew she was in too deep to turn back. Emma could feel herself growing closer to something huge, something that both terrified and motivated her. After days of sifting through her mom's messages, hidden files, and contacts, she finally found a video file saved in a secure folder labeled "For Emma." The file was recorded just a day before her mom's disappearance. Emma took a shaky breath and clicked play. The screen lit up with her mom's face, looking tired but focused. Eileen spoke in a hushed, urgent tone. "Emma, if you're watching this, it means I couldn't keep quiet about what I found. I know you'll be scared, but you need to understand how important this is." She paused, glancing over her shoulder as if someone could be listening. "There's a system and algorithm hidden in the voting software. They call it the Guided Choice Protocol. It's designed to influence election outcomes, shifting votes subtly towards one specific candidate. This isn't just a glitch or a biased poll. It's engineered to manipulate real votes." Emma's stomach twisted as she watched her mother's words sink in. Eileen continued, her voice steadier now. "Charles Hawthorne and his associates designed it. They're planning to use it in critical states to ensure their candidate wins. I was part of the data collection team, but I discovered what they were really doing. They're using people's profiles, voting histories, and even search data to alter vote counts and influence swing votes, all without anyone noticing." Eileen leaned in closer to the camera, her eyes filled with urgency. "Emma, I wanted to go to the press, but they've threatened everyone I reached out to. If you see this, I need you to find someone who can help. Don't trust the media. They've bought off enough channels to keep this quiet. Find independent reporters, maybe someone outside the country who will have less risk to publish the truth." Emma felt her pulse quicken as the video ended, her mother's last words lingering in her mind. This wasn't just about her mom now. It was about exposing a truth that could change everything about the election. Emma's fingers flew over the keyboard as she searched for independent news outlets and investigative reporters who might take the risk. She started by reaching out to one small but credible online news source known for uncovering political scandals. She carefully attached copies of the video, along with screenshots of emails and messages from her mom's account, hoping it would be enough to convince them to look deeper. But hours later, she received a response. "We appreciate your information, but we've been advised to avoid this story for security reasons. We can't help at this time. Stay safe." Emma felt a wave of frustration and despair. It was clear that Hawthorne's influence stretched farther than she had imagined, even into the media. But she wasn't ready to give up. Searching further, she found a few international journalists who specialized in exposing corruption. She sent the same files, praying someone would be willing to investigate. Just as she was beginning to feel hopeless, a notification popped up. A reply from a journalist based in London named Alex Thorne. "Emma, I believe you. This could be groundbreaking. Send me everything you have. We'll find a way to make the truth known." Emma felt a surge of relief. Finally, she had someone on her side, someone brave enough to take a risk. She spent the next hour organizing every file, every email and every detail her mom had uncovered, knowing that together they were holding the keys to an explosive truth. Yet, as she pressed send on the final email, another message appeared on her screen, an ominous warning from an anonymous account. "We know what you're trying to do, Emma. This won't end well for you or your family if you keep going." Emma's hands trembled, but her resolve was stronger than ever. They could threaten her, but she wasn't alone anymore. She knew that once the story was out, it would be too big to silence, and she would make sure her mom's voice and the truth was finally heard. Election day dawned, a cold morning filled with anticipation and tension. Emma sat in her bedroom, glued to her laptop screen, refreshing the independent news platform where she and Alex Thorne had sent the files. Just before midnight, the platform released the story, "Election Manipulation Exposed, Evidence of Voter Data Tampering in Key States." Within hours, the story spread like wildfire. Social media erupted with conversations, anger, and disbelief. People shared clips of Eileen's video and images of the guided choice protocol files demanding answers. Comment sections filled with outrage, and citizens across the country voiced their concerns about the integrity of the election. The next morning, major news outlets, now unable to ignore the scandal, began covering the story. Under the intense pressure and public outcry, the Election Commission announced they would pause the election results for a full investigation into the allegations. Investigators delved into voting software, voter databases, and campaign funds, uncovering traces of the algorithm and Hawthorne's illegal data manipulation efforts. Amid the media frenzy, Emma's phone rang. It was a police officer. "Emma, we've found your mother," he said. "She's safe." Emma's relief was overwhelming. Hours later, she and her father rushed to the hospital where her mother was recovering. They found her resting, a little pale but smiling, as Emma entered the room. Emma rushed to her mother's side, tears in her eyes. Eileen hugged her tightly, whispering, "I knew you'd find a way." "Mom, I couldn't have done it without you," Emma said, her voice shaking with both joy and relief. "You're so brave. You didn't give up, even when it was dangerous." Eileen smiled, looking proudly at her daughter. "Neither did you, Emma. I'm so proud of you." In the days that followed, the country watched as election officials and legal teams began to uncover the depths of corruption. The candidate supported by Hawthorne's team withdrew in disgrace, and the manipulated results were nullified, leading to a fresh election. Emma's story, along with her mother's courage, had a ripple effect across the nation. People began questioning, demanding transparency, and valuing the truth more deeply. Through her determination, Emma had not only saved her mother, but also helped protect the voice of millions. The experience left Emma and Eileen with an unbreakable bond, a shared understanding of the courage it took to stand up for what was right. As they stood together, watching the news and reflecting on all they had endured, Emma knew one thing: the truth, however hidden or painful, was worth fighting for.